Earlier this week, the White House also announced that it was the, quote, right time for Israel to lower the intensity of its devastating military offensive in Gaza. Of course, we know that 1,200 people were killed in the attacks by Hamas on October the 7th. According to the Hamas-led health ministry in Gaza, 24,000 Palestinians have now been killed. The vast majority of them are civilians. Clearly, there is a rift there between the Netanyahu government and the Biden administration. So my question to you this hour, as Netanyahu rules out a two-state solution for long-term peace with the Palestinians, my question to you is, was that two-state solution simply clutching at straws by Western powers, or has Netanyahu, by ruling it out, obliterated any chance of a long-term peace for the region and security for Israel? The lines are open now, 0345 6060973. To start the conversation, I'm very pleased to say that I'm joined by Yossi Beilin. He is a former Israeli Justice Minister and former Deputy Foreign Minister who initiated back-channel negotiations that eventually led to the adoption of the 1993 Oslo Accords. Mr. Beilin, thank you very much indeed for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
After Prime Minister Netanyahu's comments, is the two-state solution now finally dead?
He is on his way out. I mean, he has said it so many times, so it is not so dramatic. He is against it. First of all, I believe that he is really against it, although in his long career, there were some points, even 4 years ago, when he supported the two-state solution. But he reneged on it, and he is now dependent totally on a very, very extreme government, which he himself created. And with this government, I mean, if he supports the two-state solution, the extreme right will leave him, and he will have no government. And since he is very worried about keeping his coalition together, I think that this is what he said to the president, to the American president, and this is what he said in the press conference. Don't take it too seriously. I mean, he did not put an end to the solution, which is the only solution for the Arabs, for Israel. We don't have another solution or a better solution than a two-state solution.
What he has indicated in the past, I think, and you'll know better, is that even if there had once upon a time been hope for a two-state solution, that which you helped create a pathway for back in the 90s, he and others in Israel, in terms of politicians and members of the public, have argued since October the 7th, since the Hamas attack, the situation has changed. That the killing of 1,200 Israelis on the southern border of Israel has completely changed the picture. And therefore, it is impossible to envisage a time that ordinary Israelis could imagine a two-state solution.
You are right that for the time being, hatred on both sides increased tremendously. But it doesn't mean that we are clueless and that there will be no solution. Eventually, both sides need solutions. Now, if Israel rejects the Palestinian state and doesn't have an eastern border but the Jordan River, there will be a one-state solution. In reality, it is already a kind of a one-state solution in which during the very short future, the number of Arabs will be bigger than the Arabs of Jews. So a minority of Jews will dominate an Arab majority. And this is not exactly the vision of Zionism. The vision of Zionism is to have a homeland for the Jews, side by side with the Palestinians. That was the partition resolution of the UN in 1947. And we did not invent since then something better, which will allow us really, Palestinians and Israelis, to live side by side. So it is not that you say because of what happened, the horrible, really, something which never had happened before. But the event of October the 7th doesn't erase the need for a solution. It has nothing to do with it. It raises the level of hatred. I look around, my best friends are full of hate now. This is true, but it will pass because we are selfish enough to find solutions for ourselves, both Palestinians and Israelis, and we don't have a better one.
May I ask you, in a practical sense, what would the pathway to a two-state solution be?
You know, in a way, if Netanyahu, who, as I said, already supported publicly the two-state solution in the past, gives up on his lunatic partners in this rightist government and says, I agree to a demilitarized or non-militarized Palestinian state, then let us negotiate on this issue with the PLO in Ramallah. It will change everything, because if he says something like that, then the centrist parties, part of them are part of his coalition today, even because of the war, and part of them are in the opposition, will support him in the negotiations. And we may have a real revolution under him. Now, until October the 7th, he was Mr. Security. Since then, he is not. He may become now, on the eve of the end of his political career, Mr. Peace. And he has the opportunity. He has the backing of the world, of the whole world. He has the very intimate backing of the leader of the free world and the West. He can do that. And he has a partner.
So let me understand you correctly. At the moment, his rhetoric is all about maintaining the level of bombardment of Gaza. He has said again in that same press conference where he ruled out a two-state solution that his main objective is destroying Hamas, however he decides that is defined. There doesn't seem any way of him backing down at the moment. But are you suggesting that to stay in power, that motivation might be enough to get him to back a two-state solution when he realizes this political initiative of his isn't working anymore?
I believe that his main aim is to stay in power. Apparently, because he believes that facing the court in case, the four cases that he has to face, it is better for him to appear there as a prime minister rather than a former prime minister. I'm not sure, by the way, whether he's right about it, but this is his impression. And in order to keep his post, he needs a coalition. The coalition that he has is quite a small one, of 64 out of 120. But in order to keep it, he must be tending towards the right, because he has ultra-rightist members in his coalition. This is the point. But if he knows today that he will have a majority, another majority, if he goes for peace, it may change it. He has now a rare opportunity to change his own destiny and not to leave the political arena like a total loser.
If step one is Netanyahu changing his position, even if it is just to stay in power, what is step two?
Well, he's an Israeli patriot. I'm not saying that he's not. So it is not only to stick to power. He sees he is a rightist American Republic senator in many ways. In many ways. So this is the real Netanyahu. It is not that he loves the Palestinian state solution, but it is the fact that he agreed to it in the past.
But what would step two be? Would it be a coalition of international powers brokering a deal? Would it be...
No, we don't need the mediation of the world. I mean, it is not that we don't recognize each other, as it was with Oslo. The result of Oslo was the mutual recognition. But we recognize each other for 30 years. There is a coordination, economic coordination, of course, security coordination. It's not, we don't need now a third party And even then, we did not need one. For sure, we don't need one today. We will need the help of the world in order to implement peace, in order to save Gaza and many other things, but not in order to negotiate with each other.
In terms of the geography of your imagined two-state solution, how would the West Bank and Gaza be linked?
By a safe passage about which we agreed originally in the Oslo Agreement, which will go from Gaza to the West Bank. We know exactly from which point to which point. Its length is 42 kilometers.
And would Gaza, in this imagined two-state, in this imagined Palestinian state, would Gaza, for example, have an airport? Would it have access to ports? Would it be able to trade freely?
It will have a port. It will not only have an access to port. For sure. I mean, there should be no question. There is another point. They did not drill the gas that we have in close to Gaza, to the Gaza Gulf. They should do that. So they are having a lot of options if there is peace. And all of them will be open to them, of course, an airport, a seaport, and whatever. Once we have peace, they missed many opportunities. We missed some opportunities. It's really a time to sit together like human beings. I mean, the 7th of October will be in the background, but it should not bury us.
Do you believe that Fatah, formerly the PLO, would Fatah be the right partners with which to establish a two-state
We are
solution?
not going to the supermarket to choose our partners. Neither they, by the way. But
I mention it because that's what the Americans and the UK have said.
Yeah. but you know, we should sit together because they are the recognized Palestinian representations since representatives since 1974. This was a meeting of the Arab League, which recognized the PLO as the only legitimate representative, and the whole world accepted it.
They have a representative at the United Nations.
Yeah, I mean, they are there. They are a non-member state like that, but they're recognized by the world and actually by most of the world. And we have to talk only to them. Mahmud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, is a man of peace. He is committed to the two-state solution, even if some of the rightists in Israel portray him as a terrorist. He was never a terrorist, and he's not a terrorist. And he wants peace. He is not becoming younger, unlike most of us. And with him, we can talk. I mean, it is so easy for those who don't want peace, because they don't want the partition of the land, to delegitimize the other side, to say, he's an old man, he's not representative, is okay, as if, all the other, I mean, this is only between us, all the other leaders of the Arab world are totally legitimized and popular by their own constituencies. This is not the situation. You don't have any Arab democracy today, and you never had.
Understood.
And if there was a moment of Tunisia, it also passed.
That's right.
So it is
Spring.
not so that we say, Abu Mazen is not so popular, as if all the others are. And if you see the numbers of Netanyahu today, his approval percent is 18. Okay? Nobody wants him. So what is the ratio, the logic of saying that the other side is not relevant? The other side is relevant. It is the PLO. Its leader is Abu Mazen, as long as he's there, and it is an opportunity to make peace with them.